All right, y'all, we are back with some more unexplained mysteries, conspiracy theories, and just overall news of the world. But before we get to the craziness, I need y'all help. We got to do one thing. We got to unplug some more people out of the matrix, and you do that by hitting that like button. Once you hit that like button, man, then you got to put hashtag unplugged in the comment section. That's it. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. All right? Now, let's get to the craziness. Here we go.
So this would be a good time to bring in James Fox. He's been a regular guest with me on this program. He's a filmmaker and a UFO-ologist, and he just basically knows more than the rest of us all put together about UAPs, UFOs. Mr. Fox, first I was about to do the story with you tonight with regard to what Congressman Burchett said, and then mic drop, all of a sudden, Sheldon Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, drops this tweet right before air. Let me read it to you. He says, I'm introducing new legislation to declassify government records related to unidentified anomalous phenomena and UFOs as an amendment to the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, modeled after the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. You are the first person I wanted to get reaction from with regard to that.
So I have to take a step back and talk about my meeting with former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Harry Reid started back in 2007, the now infamous ATIP, secret UFO Pentagon program. And one of the things that he shared with me was the level of pushback that he got from the intel community regarding this secret Pentagon UFO investigation.
I wonder why that is. It don't even matter. We all know why.
And he's like, hey, I'm just saying that we just should investigate these reports. And he literally said to me, they dug in their heels. They were giving so much pushback. Some people were fearful of even losing their jobs. So the problem here is the intel folks that have all the hard data, the classified material, the high resolution 4K satellite photographs, and I've talked to a number of people that have personally seen them, some of which have gone on camera. There's just nothing in it for them to share that with the general public. The problem is that the better the data, the better the eyewitness testimony, the more hard it is to provide a prosaic explanation for a incident, an encounter, the less likely that the general public is going to hear about it. So I think it's a great effort. I'm optimistic that we're even having these conversations, but the intel folks just have no incentive whatsoever to come out with this stuff because they're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
While many are asking Congress to unseal proof of alien life to the American public, a Harvard team of researchers says they might already have some. They say microscopic debris at the bottom of the ocean floor could be from alien technology. And Harvard professor Avi Loeb led that mission to the ocean floor and joins us live now. Professor, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Professor, can you explain what exactly did you find at the bottom of the ocean, and why does your team think that it might be alien technology?
Well, on January 8th, 2014, a meteor was detected by U.S. government sensors, and it was moving very fast. And I realized, together with my student Amir Siraj, that it was actually faster than the escape speed from the sun, from the solar system. So it came into the solar system from outside. We called it the first interstellar meteor. It's the first object from outside the solar system that was recognized. And the government also released data on the fireball that indicated that the material strength of this object was tougher than all space rocks that were cataloged by NASA. And so that raised the possibility, since it's moving faster than 95% of all the stars in the vicinity of the sun, it may be aided by propulsion, and moreover, it may be made of some artificial alloy that makes it tougher than even iron meteorites. And this is not a philosophical question. We decided to go to the Pacific Ocean and search for any relics from this object. And amazingly enough, we found them. We found tiny millimeter-sized spherules. These are metallic marbles embedded within the volcanic ash on the ocean floor that is more than a mile deep. and we surveyed a region that is 10 kilometers in size with a sled that is only 1 meter in width. So think of it as a heroic effort to find tiny fragments from that explosion, and we found them.
And what did the metallic marbles?
Yeah, like the fact that it was still in that area is mind-blowing to me. I would have thought the current and different things would have moved it far from that original point. You know what I mean? And also, man, this dude is a Harvard scientist. You know what I mean? So you would think he wouldn't risk his credibility to just be putting out bogus claims like that. You would think. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you would think that somebody wouldn't do that, just randomly do that. So
fragments from that explosion, and we found them.
And what did the metallic marbles tell you? Why do you think it's alien technology?
Well, we don't know yet, so now we are examining them with the best instruments we have at Harvard University. And soon enough, within the coming weeks, we should know the composition and the isotopes that make these marbles, and figure out whether they are natural, similar to rocks in the solar system, or something unusual, like an artificial alloy, like steel, for example.
So how, at this point, I know that, excuse me to interrupting, I know that the analysis is still ongoing, but at this point, how likely is it that you think that this is alien technology?
Oh, at this point, we don't know for sure,
okay.
But we are, at this point, what we are trying to see is whether the composition is different from rocks. Okay, that's the fundamental question. And then just think about these ferrules as romantic rose petals leading us to our partner, so to speak, because they indicate the path that the meteor took, and there may be a bigger relic, you know, the size of a meter or so, left on the ocean floor, which we are aiming to find next. So really the goal would be to find whatever big core of this object was, and then it will be obvious whether it was a rock or a spacecraft. The reason, you know, to think about a spacecraft is if you think about Voyager, you know, it went into interstellar space, and it could collide with an exoplanet in 1 billion years, and it would appear as a meteor. And all one needs is to examine whatever is left from this first interstellar meteor to figure out whether it was artificial or natural. And, you know, this is the first opportunity for humans to put their hands on an object that came from outside the solar system.
Okay, fascinating. And it sounds like there are so many questions yet to be answered. So I'm going to let you get back to your research, Professor, and please check back in with us when you find out more results. I would love to know the origin, the alloy, all of it, what it's composed of, and if you end up finding that big other object, we'll check back with you. Harvard Professor Avi Loeb, I appreciate you spending some time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know, we do not typically air Donald Trump's speeches live, and on this show we are judicious about even playing clips from his rallies, and always either with or for the proper context for a discussion. That's because Donald Trump lies so frequently, and we all learned on January 6th that those lies can fuel very real violence. We've also learned that the sting from the poison of Trump's lies gets duller the more frequently you're exposed to it. But as journalists, we also have a duty to bear witness when our nation is in peril, to shine a light on the dark path that Donald Trump and his allies and enablers lead us down. And that is the moment at which we find ourselves this morning. I'll admit to being a little surprised late last night that anything Donald Trump can say can surprise me anymore, but this is some nasty stuff. Last night's speech was dangerous for the truths that Donald Trump told, as it was for the lies. And there were lies, to be sure, but the truth is that we are dangerously close to Donald Trump rising to power again and finishing what he started when he tried to overturn the results of the last presidential election and take over the government in contravention of the will of the American people. And if you listen closely to his 99-minute speech from last night, he was basically openly plotting how he's going to weaponize the government by cleaning house and firing anyone that his administration considers an enemy or insufficiently loyal to Trump's self-serving agenda.
But never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones, and that's all of you and me, all working together, who can stop them. We're the only ones that can stop them. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way. That's true. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we won't let it happen. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will drain the swamp once and for all.
Joining me now, Stuart Stevens, senior advisor for the Lincoln Project and author of the forthcoming book, The Conspiracy to End America, 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy to Autocracy. Also with us is the former GOP strategist and the co-founder of the Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson. He's also the host of the Enemies List podcast. The Enemies List sounds like it's going to get a whole lot longer after that speech last night. And the author of the book, Running Against the Devil, A Plot to Save America from Trump and Democrats from Themselves. Good morning to both of you. Rick, I saw you.
Wait. That's an actual, oh no, or is that a drawing on there? No, that's actual cover on that book, Running Against the Devil, A Plot to Save America from Trump and the Democrats from Themselves. #1 New York Times best-selling author Rick Wilson. I didn't even know they could let you do something like that. Like, you know, that's clearly Trump's silhouette with the horns and tail indicating or insinuating the devil. Like, I didn't even know you could do that. Can you do that? How is somebody getting away with that? I would have thought lawsuits would have just flew out seeing something like that. I wouldn't try it.
Save America from Trump and Democrats from Themselves. Good morning to both of you. Rick, I saw you shaking your head, and that says something because you two, unlike a lot of people in my audience, you two do have to listen to this stuff because of the work that you've done in parsing it and making people hear it. So I am also surprised that you'd be shaking your head because this got really dark. I didn't think Trump could get darker and could start talking more like an autocrat or a dictator, but he seems to study the criticism of him and then double down.
You know, this is a classic piece of, you know, chasing the authoritarian dragon. He knows the audience wants more and more and more. He understands that the Republican Party as it exists today has increasingly not only become tolerant of authoritarianism, but they desire it. There's a reason why Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are the two most popular Republican candidates by an order of magnitude practically at this point. It's because both of them are telling the audience, I will be the strong man. I will be the dictator. I will be the one who punishes your enemies. I'm here to bring you through the apocalyptic battle so that we can crush our opponents before us and eliminate their ability to ever put an idea or a contest or a political candidate against you in your life. It's a really dark path.
Stuart, I have to ask, though, I can understand Trump's running so far ahead of DeSantis and everybody else in that race that he's using what works for the primary, but I cannot see why independent voters, why moderate Republicans would go for this sort of talk. It's really dangerous stuff. I mean, this lumping of communists and Marxists and fascists, and 2024 is our final battle. If you believe in democracy, then 2024 is definitely not your final battle.
Yeah, look, I think we're going to have a close election. We've learned, I mean, the Democrats with the Electoral College, they have to...
I agree. This thing going to be close, but it is going to be messy, like on a different level. If you thought the last election with Trump and Biden was something, I think this one is going to be even crazier. You know what I mean? The gloves is already off.
We're going to have a close election. We've learned, I mean, the Democrats with the Electoral College, they have to win by at least 4 points. So it's really important to keep in mind for everybody over this next year. When you see a poll and Biden is ahead by 2 points, he's probably losing the Electoral College. So it's really a game of small numbers. 40,000 people, if they had changed their vote in the last election, even though Biden won by over 7 million, Well, it only took 40,000. Trump would still be president, and think what that would mean. What's happening here is if you read studies of authoritarianism, they always say, listen to what they say because they say what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And as Rick said, that's exactly what is happening here. And he's not running for the Constitution. He's not running for rule of law. He has become what you're supposed to support. It's a classic strongman thing. And that the world is in such chaos. America's this terrible place. Only I can save you, which is what he said when he ran for president in his inaugural address. And it is extraordinarily dangerous. And these people can win. And we must wrap our heads around that.
So again, I ask you guys, Rick, what does one do about it? Because what you did through the last election cycle and the cycle before that was to underscore some of these things, to sort of take the best of the hit parade of what Donald Trump does, and sometimes to make the point, you'd put sort of dark music and special effects into some of those ads. I mean, there's nothing your dark music and special effects can do now. He's saying all those things that you were warning people he actually meant. So when Stewart says, listen to what he actually says, if you listen to what he actually says, I mean, he had everything last night. He talked about families. He talked about leftist universities and Marxist assaults on American heritage and Western civilization itself, which tends to have sort of shades of nationalism. He spoke about social media and trans bills and anti-vax conspiracy. I mean, what do you now do? Who's left to convince, and what do we have to do to convince them that this is danger?
Well, the good news is he's actually expanded the number of what we call soft Republicans who are addressable, who Joe Biden could persuade. That number has gotten larger, while the core of the Republican Party has gotten much crazier, much more intense. So he can still win with just that crazy core, but there are more Republicans and conservative independents who can be moved away from Trump now than there were in 2020. That's the good news. The bad news is that Democrats need to rally around Joe Biden right now. You need to have zero daylight between any Democratic official, elected person, donor. They need to be 100% behind Joe Biden. Stop complaining. Stop pretending you're going to get somebody different or better or more fun or younger. Joe Biden's going to be your nominee. Get behind him now, because the battle is already on. Donald Trump is going to win this nomination, and we need to be ready for that. Look, it is a long fight ahead. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anybody. People who don't think this election is going to be a bloodbath are mistaken.
Good word to use. Bloodbath, good word to use. Is already that right now. And the state that we're in right now, man, you see inflation? Do you see what's going on? Like, something's got to happen, though. You know what I mean? So I see they going at Trump, but the current state that we are in ain't no good. So we need to do something, period.
Yeah, this is also why the danger of a third party that no labels is supporting is so incredibly dangerous. Because there are this group of people out there that if they voted, or a lot of them voted for Trump in 2016, Biden helped, the Lincoln Project and others helped, came back to him in 2020. But if you give them an off-ramp to vote for any other alternative, they will, a certain percentage, and it can be deciding percentage, will vote for that person. And that will elect Donald Trump. So this has to be taken with great seriousness. It's what we wake up every day in the Lincoln Project and do. And, one of the challenges here is the language to talk about this, because it sounds so alarmist. But it's like a pandemic. Whatever you say at the beginning will sound alarmist, but at the end it's going to prove inadequate. Yeah. And that is this moment.
New Yorkers are once again being urged to prepare for smoke from the wildfires burning in Western Canada. Air quality health advisories are being issued for the entire state, as winds are expected to carry a smoky haze to the northeast yet again this week. Now, it comes as Canada is experiencing its worst fire season on record. About 25 million acres have burned so far this year.
They've come all the way from
This is getting crazier and crazier. Like how? I got alerts today about people in, I think it was Kentucky, starting to feel the effects even again. Like, this is crazy.
America's Southwest.
Welcome to Quebec.
Now here in northern Quebec's scorched lands. joining hundreds of other American and international firefighters, doing what they can to slow wildfires that just won't quit.
At this point, we're just trying to secure the edge and make sure that the communities are safe.
The Silver State Hotshot crew is looking for hotspots. They are firefighting crews specially trained and skilled, now taking on Canada's record-breaking wildfires.
I know you're from Montana, big sky country, but this was a big fire. This is a big territory.
In the scope for us in the States, this would be one of the largest fires ever to occur in the United States. So yeah, it's a gigafire.
The total area burned in Canada.
Do you see that, bro? And then the wind, that combined with the wind. And from me being a firefighter back in the day, bro, like one of the things when we would call forestry would be them coming out and doing like a fire break around it, like creating an edge around it. You know what I mean? But when you got wind pushing it, it'll jump that fire break like nothing.
Already has shattered records. Now 10 million hectares, that's almost 25 million acres, an area nearly as large as the state of Ohio, and still burning.
And when they burn like this, there's no way to even put people in front of it to even stop the fire. There's no amount of resources on the ground or from the sky that's going to be able to stop one of these fires when they get the momentum.
What I just say, he just said the same thing.
As shocking and frankly unsettling as it is, this fire is just far too large to extinguish. In fact, the area already burned is larger than most countries on the planet. It means that not only does the fire burn, but there is going to be a lot of smoke.
And that means many American cities could be shrouded in smoke on any given day for weeks or months to come.
Don't be surprised if it continues. And secondly, this is a problem that is going to go on into the future. When it's the year to burn and the conditions are right, it's just going to continue to burn.
Here in Quebec, many were evacuated within minutes as the flames threatened towns and fires burned with raging speed.
American.
Jimmy Seaburn is grateful to see American help. He says he had minutes to leave in June and was upset to leave behind the family pets. They were fine when he returned 6 days later, but he fears his home will be threatened again.
C'est incroyable, mais c'est pas normal. Oui, it's incredible, but it's not normal.
No.
He says it's not normal, but cautions we should all learn to expect the worst from the weather now. The rain helps. It has finally arrived in some places, but
think about all the people that's breathing that in every single day. Because they try to tell you to stay inside, but people got to get to work. Not everybody has the ability to work from home. How you gonna do that?
Words of one Canadian official, it's like a drop in an otherwise empty bucket. The mayor of this town, Chibougamau, says the rain is an answered prayer. She may not have to evacuate her town again, but they have to adapt, she says. No one imagined so much would burn so quickly.
Were you scared?
Strangely, I wasn't scared. I was mad. And then I have to come down and say, Manon, you have a job to do. And that's why, I stay calm. And I said to my people, let's be patient, let's do it, and keep it zen.
It may be difficult to stay calm as Mother Nature rages. The cliche applies here in every way possible. Canada is burning, and it's not out of the woods yet.
It's so incredible to think of. There are fires burning right through this country from one end to the other. And to that end, the Canadian government called in the Canadian military, this time in Canada's west, to help deal with those wildfires. You cannot put too fine a point of it, Abby and Phil. We are little more than halfway through the fire season. So have a look at those air quality indexes. We will be watching them for weeks, maybe months to come.
Yeah, no end in sight. Paula Newton reporting. Thank you.
Why do I have this strange feeling that it's going to go into years? The entire time they just been saying weeks and months. And it started off that in the beginning as just weeks maybe. Now it's months. This could lead on into years. And I think one of the dudes in that interview kind of alluded to that a little bit. Like when next season gets here, we're going to be dealing with the same thing. This may just be the beginning of it, the tip of the iceberg. So, man, I just feel for people, bro, because You know, that stuff can create long-term health effects. So prayers, man, for everybody dealing with that. Those New Yorkers dealing with that type of stuff, man. And you know, a lot of people walk to work and don't have vehicles because they live in a big city. So y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought about all of these crazy videos today, man. Leave a comment, man, and stick around and stay tuned. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.